Finding your next HMO investment area does not have to take months anymore. ChatGPT can do it in minutes, and in this video, I'm going to show you how. Hi, I'm Adam. I trained as a surgeon in the NHS, but these days I'm investing in HMOs with precision. The truth is, with HMOs, location is king and they do not work everywhere. Many investors spend months looking for the best investment area for them. That was certainly me going round in circles. But what if ChatGPT, what if AI could do all that heavy lifting in minutes? In this video, I'll be showing exactly how ChatGPT can find the best HMO investment areas near you and share the exact prompts I use. But make sure you stick around to the end because due diligence will be required and I'll explain exactly what is needed. Let me set out some assumptions. First, I'm presuming you're a busy professional with a busy 9-to-5 who wants to invest relatively close to home for convenience. Let's say 30 to 45 minutes away. Second, we'll be creating a 6-bed HMO outside of an Article 4 area. The reason for this is you get the highest return on investment but without requiring planning permission. Finally, I'm assuming you'll be buying a 3-bed terraced house and converting this into a 6-bed all-en-suite HMO. Why? Because this will enable you to use a commercial valuation on the back end and recycle your cash using the buy, refurbish, refinance method. Okay, but before we dive in, quick reminder, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now if you haven't already. It really helps the channel grow and I don't want you to be missing any of my future HMO content in the coming weeks. Okay, so let's get started. Remember though, with AI, it's the quality and specificity of the prompts that determines the quality of the answer. So make sure you copy me and come along with me step by step. So the first prompt is, I live in the UK and I want to invest in HMOs. I work as a busy professional and I want to invest close to home. Help me find the best location to do this. List all the towns and cities within 45 minutes of Ashbourne by car off peak. Exclude any places with a population of under 40,000, but ideally look for places with 100,000 or more. So my thinking here is you want it close to home to fit in with your busy professional job, and also you need a population that is robust enough to handle and provide good demand for HMO rooms. So let's see what ChatGPT said. Well, it thought for 1 minute 28 seconds and it's listed some relatively big hitters here. So you've got Nottingham, Derby, Stoke and a few others. So let's move on now to prompt number 2. You can see here there was a few near misses, but for the purpose of this exercise, we're going to focus on the towns and cities listed here. Now, prompt 2 is all about filtering out Article 4. Why would you want to do that? Well, it's because Article 4 restricts you from going up to a 6-bed without planning permission. So what was my prompt here? So for each town, check the local council's planning pages to see if there's any Article 4 directions restricting HMOs. Create a comment and say whether it has Article 4 or if it does not. Okay, so let's see what ChatGPT said. It had to think for 1 minute 13 seconds, which is actually quite long for ChatGPT. And as you can see, Nottingham has Article 4, so does Derby. I believe that was relatively recently introduced. Stoke doesn't, Mansfield does, Chesterfield doesn't, and you can see the Article 4 status for the others there. So the filtered list, we're already down to just 4, is Stoke-on-Trent, Mansfield, Chesterfield and Stafford that do not have an Article 4 direction for HMOs. Okay, so let's look at prompt number 3. This is about property prices. Clearly here, the lower the better. As you can see the full prompt on the screen, but the key bit is essentially for the remaining towns, find the average purchase price for a 3-bed terraced house using Land Registry or Rightmove sold data, and you want that to be in the last 12 months ideally. Okay, let's see what it said. Here is the current sold price averages in these towns. You can see that for Stoke the average is about 118,000 and it goes up to Stafford, that is 188,000. Without further ado, let's look at prompt 4. This is all about rental income and the yield calculator. So I've asked ChatGPT to find the median monthly room rent for professional HMOs using Spareroom's average. And then I've asked it to assume that each property is converted into a 6-room professional HMO and calculate the gross yield. This is calculated by dividing the gross annual rent by the purchase price for that property. Let's see what ChatGPT found. Okay, so you can see that ChatGPT has been working hard. It's found in this column here the room rents for each of these places. You can see that the highest rent is in Chesterfield, and the rest are relatively similar, actually around 500. So that would then calculate the gross annual rent and the gross yield. So in terms of the gross yield, Stoke is doing best at 30%, followed by Mansfield, followed by Chesterfield, with Stafford being quite a bit lower at 18%. It does say here actually in a note and caveat that these rooms rented are for existing advertised rooms, so maybe optimistic for a new conversion. I actually disagree there. Often new rooms listed on Spareroom, because they're brand new, no one's lived in there before, can achieve a premium rent actually. But it's giving its opinions there, but that's just evidence that you need to have your own education and your own perspective on things as well. So it's looking like Stoke's winning for now, but let's look at prompt number 5. So prompt number 5 is a demand versus supply check. So I've asked, using Spareroom data, estimate demand versus supply for each town. You want to compare the number of room seekers to the rooms available. So the reason for this prompt clearly is that if you've got a HMO, ideally you want the rooms to let very quickly. This is much more likely to happen if there's a high demand and a relative limited supply. Okay, so let's see what ChatGPT found. So it says for Chesterfield, the demand is high, Stafford it's high, Mansfield it's medium, and Stoke it is saying low. Interesting findings here. You can see that the rooms available in Stoke, however, are quite a bit more than in the other locations. And the room seekers is also more. So clearly you need to look at the absolute numbers as well. Okay, let's move on to prompt 6. This is actually the longest prompt. This is all about seeing what a potential commercial valuation might be and the uplift in the property value would be. So I've said, for each shortlisted town, estimate the potential commercial valuation of a 6-bed professional HMO using an investment style red book valuation. As you can see on the screen, I have listed various assumptions and given various instructions. You can copy these and you put them into ChatGPT yourself. I'm interested to see what it comes out with. Okay, let's look at the answer. Okay, so we're now looking at the answer for that prompt. Remember, it's the uplift in value that enables you to recycle your capital and scale faster if you're using commercial valuations and buy, refurbish, refinance, rent. So looking at the answers, you can see that the highest percentage uplift is in Stoke, followed by Mansfield, Chesterfield and Stafford. Okay, so time for the final prompt. I've asked ChatGPT here for a final recommendation. So as you can see, I've said from the shortlist, summarise the single best option for me to invest in a 6-bed HMO. I want ChatGPT compare the towns for the purchase price, the gross yield, the commercial valuation, and then make a recommendation for the number 1 town based on affordability and based on rental demand. And I've asked for an explanation. So let's see what ChatGPT recommends. Okay, so in just a few minutes, we are now here. ChatGPT has provided a final recommendation. It's provided a summary above, and interestingly, ChatGPT has recommended Chesterfield. Why has it recommended Chesterfield? Well, it says that it's got balanced affordability, a strong uplift leverage, and a solid demand base. So this is an interesting finding for me. I've not heard much about HMOs being in Chesterfield, but I recommend people look into that now if they live nearby. There are some caveats. It points out that assumptions have been made based on averages. There's always a valuation risk with commercial valuations, and clearly there can be market shifts, and it all depends on high quality refurbishment. But it's said at the very end in plain English, Chesterfield gives you a sweet spot. It's affordable, strong potential uplift, and a solid rental demand. I must be honest, these are exactly the type of things I look for in an investment area, so that does sound very appealing. So interesting findings there, as you can see. I must be honest, when I first saw that shortlist, I did expect the recommendation to be Stoke. I'm aware that Stoke doesn't have Article 4 and there's plenty of HMOs there. Clearly, ChatGPT has been put off by the high supply in Stoke and wants an area that's less competitive. So this is now where it comes down to the due diligence. In the next part of this video, I will be explaining what due diligence you need to do when selecting your HMO location to verify what ChatGPT has said is in fact correct and fits with your own investment goals. Okay, so now I'm going to explain how to do your due diligence when assessing a location for HMOs. First and foremost, let's consider property prices and rental demand. So for property prices, the best thing to do here is go to the common portals, go to Rightmove, go to Zoopla, go to the ones you look at and look at recent houses sold for the type of property you're looking to buy. So in this example, it was 3-bed terraced houses. Next, it's very important to check rental demand. So for this, the king really is Spareroom. On Spareroom, you can look at the number of people looking for rooms. You can look at the number of rooms listed. You can also see the quality of rooms available. So the first port of call is Rightmove, Zoopla and Spareroom. Another top tip about Spareroom, as well as seeing the expected rents you could achieve, you can also run a test or dummy advert. Run an ad, put up photos of the type of finish you're going to deliver and see the types of inquiries you get in. Clearly, the more inquiries, the better. Next, it's time to go to your local council's website. Firstly, see if there are any Article 4 directions in place for HMOs. ChatGPT is not always right, so you need to really check this. If in doubt, contact the local HMO officer. Second, and this one is just as important, this should be your Bible when investing in HMOs. You need to look at the local amenity standards for HMOs. All council websites have one. There's usually a very helpful document there. This will outline exactly what is required in order to get your license locally. It will go from the various room sizes to all the shared amenity standards. Bonus tip when on the council's website, see if they list all the registered licensed HMOs in that area. This will usually say the street and the address. So what you can do here is go to Google Maps and start spotting any patterns. Are there any particular areas within that town or that location where there are micro locations or hotspots for HMOs? This will give you indications of where good house stock might be, but also where most of the competition is. Third, let's talk about tenant demand as well. We've already talked about checking out Spareroom. However, you should really do some research into what type of tenants there will be in your area. For instance, is there a university or a college? This might mean it would be a good location for student HMOs. Are there 3 big major employers in the area or excellent transport links? This would then be better suited to young professional HMOs. Next, let's discuss transport links. Transport links really are important for HMOs. HMOs that are within 5 minutes walk from a transport hub really do, in general, rent much more quickly than HMOs in the middle of nowhere. Go onto Google Maps, have a look around. Where are the main motorways? Where are the main train stations? Where are the bus routes? Next, and this really is a big one, speak to local agents. So first, you can speak to estate agents. You can find how much the property prices are in that area. You can find out which areas tend to be hotspots for HMO investors, and you can also build up a relationship with them so that if there's any interesting properties coming to market, you will be the first person they call. There's also letting agents, and what I highly recommend is finding out which letting agents manage HMOs in your area. Not only will you need that once you've done your refurb, but these guys really are the HMO experts in the area. They know what rents are achieved, they know which areas the tenants want to live in, and they also know the type of tenants. Is it young professionals? Is it students? And they also know the type of finishes that they want. So for instance, when I was speaking to letting agents in my area, they really emphasized the importance of kitchenettes because these rooms go first. Next, definitely speak to the accommodation officers at your local hospitals and your local universities. They will really be able to tell you a lot about what the demand is in the area for hospital staff and university students. And the final bit of due diligence I would recommend is make sure you speak to a HMO specialist mortgage broker. they should be able to let you know in the area which valuation surveyors operate. You could then look them up online and give them a call. You could explain what you're looking to do. You're trying to convert a 3-bed house into a 6-bed HMO. If you did this and it was all en suite, A, would you be eligible for a commercial valuation? And B, if the average rent was say £600 a month, what would the GDV be? What would the end value be? Using these figures would really help you when doing your deal analysis. Now, if you found this video useful, make sure you do something to that subscribe button and hit like. In the coming weeks and months, I will be releasing many more videos helping busy professionals get started in HMOs. So without doubt, with all this technology, with AI, now is an exciting time to get started with HMOs. Rather than spending months finding your investment area, AI can do it for you in minutes. Picking the right area for your HMO is literally the difference between having an asset that rents out straight away and reliably and having another asset that sits empty with no rent. So make sure you do your due diligence as well as leveraging. So if you like this video, you're definitely going to like the next one. In my next video, I'll be asking the question, how I would get started in HMO investing with just £30,000. So hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.